Hello there, it's Cassie. Welcome back for another Encouraging Cards series. This one is card number 14. I appreciate you coming to my YouTube channel to check it out. So I'm going to do some watercoloring with these Kuretake watercolors. This is a set of 24 and I've had these for quite a while and I really do like them, and one of the things I like most about them is that they're highly opaque. What that means is that they're not very see-through, so they layer pretty well, and I like to use them for splatters most of the time. I mean, I obviously do all kinds of watercoloring with them, but they work so nicely for splatters because they don't dry back. What you see is what you get on the splatters. So what I've started doing is I'm using a number 8 Simply Simmons round brush, and I had put down just some water. I didn't go all the way to the edge, and I'm just kind of slapping some color down. I started off with a light blue because I'm trying to make a fall scene. And then I'm going to add some yellow. I have added that yellow all across the bottom. I know it seems kind of funny, like, you know, grass should be green, but since this is a fall scene, I am sticking with some yellows. And I'll try and put a little bit of greens in there and even a little bit of red because, you know, once fall starts happening, in most places, your grass starts to turn a little bit yellow. Not here in El Paso yet. Maybe they haven't gotten the memo that it's supposed to be fall or getting there, but it's still in the 90s and my grass is still very green because I had to mow it just yesterday. So once I've got a good layer down, I am going back over the top of it with some of that blue and kind of letting it just move around a little bit, and then I am sticking down a little bit more green, and then I'm going to heat set that because I like where it's at right now. These watercolors layer very nicely. Like I said, they're opaque. They're not necessarily very transparent. And I'm just kind of wiping up where I don't like and just heat setting and adding more color where I think it needs to be. And once I'm done putting some of that color down and drying it, I get some harsh lines that I don't necessarily like. So I will go back over that with some clean water just to kind of soften those lines. And it works out really nicely with these particular watercolors. It doesn't always work great with other watercolors, but these ones, it does. So I'm just adding a little bit more color to that. And then I will dry that in between as well. And once I'm happy with how that's dried, I'm going to add some splatters. And this is what I'm talking about. What you see there is how it's going to dry. So I will add some green splatters, I will add some yellow splatters, and I will even add some of those blue splatters as well. And I love how these splatters end up adding to the card. So I wanted to show you for my mini Misty that I ended up laminating one of those grid sheets. I've been a homeschool mom for 11 years now, and I just bought a laminator not that long ago. I know that sounds really crazy. It was inexpensive. It's the Amazon brand, and I've used it for quite a few things, and I can recommend it. I really do like it, so I will link that down below. But this way, by laminating my grid sheet, I don't have to worry so much about getting ink on it and then having to throw those little pieces of paper away and having to buy more. So I feel like I'm being a little economical doing it that way. So I stamped out my images, and those images come from the Lawn Fawn set called Jump for Joy. And I used Versamark ink onto that same watercolor paper, which is the Strathmore 140 pound. And the ink stays wet for a little bit, so I decided I would use my clear embossing powder over the top. Mostly because I didn't want to have to wait too much in between. I didn't want to have to wait for things to dry. So I wanted to get the lines good and embossed. And I think actually by doing that it worked out for me because these paints are opaque paints. Painting over the top of those lines may have covered up the black if I hadn't been careful. But it ended up working out okay because it resisted against those embossed lines, which is nice. It was a happy little accident in my opinion. Now I don't know because I haven't painted over the top of black lines before, but it worked out. So with my leaves, like any leaves, they're not going to necessarily be all one color unless it was summer, but in the fall they start to change colors, and this is why I'm not, being very particular about one leaf is red, one leaf is yellow, and one leaf is green. I'm just putting that color down, and I actually like that the red and the green are causing some of, the leaves to turn a little bit brown. So I don't mind that muddiness in there. And so I'm just kind of working that color here and there where I like it. And once I'm done with that, then I will start to move on to my fox and my owl. I just love these little images. These critters are so cute, and even though it doesn't feel like fall here in El Paso, I really just wanted to. I've been seeing other people's cards, other fall cards and images, and I have been just itching to start making some fall cards. So this one will be the first of this year. So you'll see more, definitely. I'll start working on some Halloween cards too. But now moving on to my owl. I am using a brown for my owl, and then I will color his little beak and his feet with that same yellow that I used on the background and on the leaves, just to kind of make it a little bit more cohesive. And then I will dab into that black just a little bit, because I would like to add some shadowing, like a gray, for the images themselves, to add a little bit more depth to them. And I'm using a silver black velvet number 4 for these images. I forgot to mention that. And like I said, I will link that down below. So once I have them all done, I cut out my watercolor panel using my Big Shot with the My Favorite Things Blueprints number 24, which you didn't see. And then I used my coordinating dies over my Jump for Joy set, and I am running that through my Sizzix Sidekick. And I just have that tacked down with some washi tape so that they don't go anywhere. But I love this little Sizzix Sidekick because it does a lot for me. And for my card base, I've just grabbed some card stock from my stash, and I am scoring that at 5.5 inches. So this is a top folding A2 size card, which when closed measures 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. So for my sentiment, I have put that back in my Mini Misty. And originally I thought about stamping out the sentiment on black with white embossing powder, but I just thought, I want to stamp it right on top, see how that goes over the top of those paints. And so I'm going to use the VersaFine Onyx Black ink over that, because it's nice and crisp and dark, and I figured if I didn't like it, I could always cover it up. So I just stamped that out a couple times, and it ended up working out really nicely. So to start assembling my card, I am putting foam tape on the back of all the images that I plan to put on the front except the owl. I want that owl to look like he is behind the leaves, so I'm going to use some craft tacky glue for my owl, and I will stick him behind the leaves, and then I will start adhering my leaves and my fox by peeling off that backing paper, and those 2 smaller leaves as well. I will peel the backing paper off those and stick those down. And I thought that was plenty of embellishment. So that's a fairly thick cardstock. So I will just use that tacky glue to adhere my watercolor panel down to my green panel. And I like how the green is just fairly, it's pretty subtle. I didn't want it to stick out too much. That's why I cut it as small as I did. And then I'm going to take those 3 extra leaves that I have, and I'm going to adhere those to the inside using that craft tacky glue. This way I can write a nice note to whoever I plan to send this to, and there's just a little extra something something on the inside with those leaves. And then I'll adhere that whole panel just using that craft tacky glue as well. And that will finish off this card. So if you liked it, I would appreciate you hitting the like button, and I will try to have everything listed down below that I used. And as always, guys, thank you so much for stopping by.